Freedom Bench, May 13th, 2021. Tonight, the Lee 9mm powder through and expanding die. Also, we're going to seat some primers. You know what's next. All right, everyone, welcome back. Tonight we're going to continue our road to Bloomington with our 9mm reloading series. Let's see what we're going to take a look at and get into tonight. So we got 50 rounds of 9mm ready to be reloaded. And in case you're wondering, these are Federal, Winchester, and PMC head stamps. I went through and sorted the brass last night by head stamp, and I think we've got 25 Federal cases, 18 Winchester, and 7 PMC. So we got these guys ready to go up in our reloading tray. That way we can keep everything nice and neat and organized. And what we need to do with these guys now is take a look at the Lee 9mm powder through and expansion die. So that's our second one to the left here. We're going to grab this guy out. This is what we're taking a look at tonight. This is the Lee 9mm powder through and expanding die. And what that means is, let's take a look at the first part of it, the powder through. You can actually load your powder through the top of that die there if you want to. We have a funnel that you can put onto the top of that, and as you're working it through the press, just dump your powder in. But also, the second part, the expanding part of the die, if we take a look at the bottom, when we run our cases up through this die, what's going to happen is that the mouth of this case is going to get wider so that it can accept a projectile. So I've got our projectile right here. This is a Berry's 124 grain 3.56 plated round nose bullet. And what we'll notice here is that this projectile does not fit very well inside the top of this case. And that's a problem because if this mouth isn't expanded enough, when I go and seat this and push it down into the brass, we could get a crimped or it could smash the case and it may not seat correctly. It could damage the case. So we need to do with this die is expand that case mouth a little bit. And you can think of it like almost like a trumpet. So we want to widen that case mouth out so that it can accept this bullet. What we need to make sure we do is not do that too much. We don't want it to look like a trumpet. We just need to slightly open that up so that it can accept that bullet. That way we can keep this brass as long as we can so that it doesn't damage the brass. Also tonight, what we're going to take a look at, primers. So also, inside this same stage of reloading, we can also get our primer seated into that brass. And what we're going to use tonight is the Lee Safety Prime, which is what this is right here. And we're going to take a look at this, and I will show you how to set this guy up and use it so that you can accept primers through your Lee single stage press. So that's the stuff we're going to use tonight. Let's get it set up and let's get to reloading. Let's start by taking a look at the expansion part of the process. As you can see here, we've got installed into the press the red quick change bushing. That way we can set this guy once we've got it adjusted the way we want it to. We can lock it down, and then as we change from process to process, we'll be able to hit the ground running and not have to do this adjustment every single time. So what you want to do when you're taking a look at this die is very similar to the first die. Is we want to raise the ram to the top of the stroke, and then we're going to twist this die into place until we hit the top of the ram. So we get down there and then we hit it. You can see there we hit the top of the ram. And then what we need to do is turn it out one full turn. So there's a half, and then there's a full turn. And then that's where we start to begin our expansions. So I've got a case here, and let's drop it in there, and we'll see what happens when we raise and pull it out. And we'll just keep testing this until we get this projectile seated the way we want. So I've got a normal case right here that will just see that it's not sitting in there very well. But as we continue to drop this guy in there, see, we need to do a little bit more here. So every single time we change, we're going to do about 1/8 of a turn. So let's do 1/8 of a turn, run it up there again, take a look at what we got. So you can see there it's starting to seat a little bit better. Let's do another 1/8 turn. Slight turn. Raise it up again. We're getting close. Let's do another turn. Now keep in mind, we don't want to do too much here, so we can prolong the life of the brass. And that's looking pretty good. That went in there pretty well. So we can see here that it just doesn't sit as well. And now after we made our adjustments there, that guy's sitting in there pretty well. So let's call that good. I'll tighten this down and we'll move on. Let's move on to the Lee Safety Prime. Now this is how we're going to get our primers into the brass. And what this comes with is, you'll notice right there, a small and a large system for, in this case, small pistol primers and large pistol primers. So 9mm, we're going to do small pistol primers tonight. And what we needed to do was put this little extension on the top of the press. And this guy sits in there like so. That's going to sit in there like that, and when we raise the press up, you can see the primer seater there. Push that guy on there like that, drop a primer on, swing it back, show that again, engage a primer, put it back, raise it down, and when we raise it down, it's going to drop it in there like that, and then boom, primer accepted. Alright, so I'm going to do this next step in stages here. We've got our priming system opened up, you'll see here. So we got to get our primers into the top of this safety prime. And we've got our primers. We're going to take a look at CCI small pistol primers number 500s tonight. And we've got 50 rounds in the tray, so we're going to do 5 rows of 10, as you can see here. And these things need to drop in this. And we're going to try to do this without spilling things everywhere. Would be probably a good idea. So we got that flipped. And all of our primers are in there. So you can see we got our primers loaded here. And we'll zoom in slightly, and you can see that they're not all facing the same direction. We need them to have the anvils facing up, like so. And in order to do that, they engineered this guy so you can just shake it a little bit. And you can notice that all of those primers flipped to the correct position, which is pretty sweet. So I'm going to lock this guy up and get it on the press. So you can see our primers are stacked in there, and they flow through down into here, into the little arm here. And we're ready to get some primers in there. So what this stage of the reloading process is going to do, like we talked before, we're going to expand that case mouth, and then we're going to seat a primer. So let's get to it. Primer dropped on there. Let's raise the ram back up. Push it in there. We've got a primer. Let's take a look to see if that projectile sits in there. Beautiful. So we've got about 49 more to do, and we'll tune in with you when we're done. And there you have it. 50 pieces of brass, 50 expanded case mouths, 50 primers seated. What could be better? Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.